Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 10 start and sit video for the quarterback position. Yes, we are talking Week 10 already. We're about, 4-5 games away from fantasy playoffs starting, so there's a lot going on in the next few weeks that you've got to take account for. Injuries, bye weeks, players coming back from IR, a lot of good stuff, and with this said, there's probably a lot of you going into your last week for trade. So hit us up in the comments if you guys have trade questions. Of course, check out our waiver wire video as well. Hit us up in the comments if you have players you need to pick up and drop, just so we can help you guys out with that. Now, there are 4 teams on a bye. You've got the Rams, Dolphins, Eagles, and the Chiefs. So as far as quarterbacks go, you got Tua out, Mahomes, Stafford obviously has been injured, and then you've got Jalen Hurts. So really good quarterbacks out this week and a lot of injuries. So the quarterback position has been really tough just in general to kind of really try to figure out who to play. Hopefully this video helps you guys out. Now, these are your obvious quarterbacks. There's not many, right? Like, I don't have a huge list because there aren't really many right now at this point that you should obviously start, but these quarterbacks here you should. Now, the first quarterback I'm going to mention as a good start is going to be Geno Smith versus the Commanders. Now, Geno Smith has not been great. Like, he has not played to what we had all hoped he was going to do compared to last year. Now, Commanders are allowing the third most yards to quarterbacks, which is 250 yards a game. They're allowing 27 points a game. And really recently as far as fantasy points. So it's huge as far as what they're allowing. And it's really been a shootout between Commanders and whoever they play against. Howell's done pretty well, and other teams have obviously done really well. And the fact that the Commanders got rid of most of their defensive line allows teams to have more time in the pocket. It allows teams to be able to see down the field and get their players the passes that they needed. Also, I really want to talk about this whole emergence of, Jackson and Smith and Jigba. Him starting to have some value and really getting targets his way is only going to, I think, improve the Seattle offense, give Geno the possibility of being a more efficient and better quarterback again like he was last season, and again allowing Metcalf and Lockett to be open, having a lot more one-on-one. So that's what everybody had hoped at the beginning of the season. Has not really been that way at all. It's really been more of a heavy run game through Walker and Charbonnet, and even they struggled last week. But I do like this week for Geno Smith. I think he should be someone you're going to consider starting. Another quarterback I like this week is Russell Wilson going against the Bills. He's coming off of a bye week, so great news there. Gives them more time to prepare for the Buffalo Bills, where the Bills are not playing very well. Now, Buffalo, as of late, has struggled against quarterbacks. The injuries are piling up. Milano being out, Tre'Davious White. There's a lot of injuries that they're dealing with. So recently, in the last 3 games, they've allowed 20.5 points to quarterbacks. Again, Wilson coming off of a bye has been great. The first 4 games of the season, he was averaging 19.8 points. As of late, he hasn't been great. He's only been averaging 13.3 points in the last 3 games. So that is tough. This is a really good turnaround, though, going against a struggling Bills defense that is just allowing a lot of points and yards. So I really like this for Russell Wilson. Again, 17 to 18 point range is where I'm kind of expecting him. Another quarterback I like this week is going to be Gardner Minshew versus the Patriots. Minshew, the GOAT, is playing a Patriots defense that has been horrible. They've allowed 300 yards a game in the last 3 games. So they're allowing a lot. They're allowing 21.6 points. Minshew has a great opportunity to have some success. Early in the season, he had a couple games where he was over 300 yards. But he hasn't been great, right? He's been okay. He's got great weapons in Michael Pittman. Obviously, great running game in Taylor and Zach Moss. But one thing to keep an eye on, and I'm hoping he comes back, is Josh Downs being injured. Josh Downs, if he can come back healthy, is only another weapon for Minshew and have ability to have another successful week for Minshew. So I really like Gardner Minshew this week. And the last quarterback is CJ Stroud versus the Bengals. The hottest quarterback from week 9 has to be a must start, even if it's just a matchup that's not great. But I still like this even with the Bengals, who have played pretty well. Tough matchup, though, again, because Bengals as of late have been pretty good. In the last 3 weeks, they've only allowed 2 touchdown passes, only 315 yards. But where they have had some issues, if they've allowed 315 yards, that's where they've been struggling. They're still allowing 18.9 points. So again, Stroud, who's been averaging just over 19 points a game, has a really good matchup against the Bengals. He's going to have to play really pass heavy, which is where they've been at. Their running offense has been horrible. And they have to keep up with the Bengals offense, which with Burrow being healthy has looked really good. One concern for the Bengals, and obviously I do have Burrow as an obvious start, There is an injury concern with Chase. Just keep an eye on that. He's got a back issue right now. Nothing's been updated yet, but just something to consider. Now, as far as a sit, Deshaun Watson going against the Ravens. Watson finally played his first game really in like, 3 or 4 weeks. It's finally his first game, and he did pretty well as far as fantasy standards go. He put up some decent points. He had 2 touchdowns. But this is one of the toughest matchups to really come back and play because you're going against the Ravens team that's only allowing 11 points a game. Quarterbacks are struggling heavily. They've only allowed 6 touchdowns, period, so far this season. So, again, really tough matchup. Ravens have been hot lately. And being a rivalry game, that adds a factor into this one, right? Like, I think it's going to be a run-heavy type of game. And Baltimore has done a great job with the run, whether it be Justice Hill, Gus Edwards. Now Mitchell showed up, obviously Lamar Jackson. So this is a really tough matchup. It's going to be a good game because both teams are really fighting for that number 1 spot in their division. But I do think Deshaun Watson should be sat this week. Another quarterback that I think should sit is Brock Purdy versus the Jaguars. Brock Purdy needed this bye. Like the 49ers needed this bye. They have not played well. They're on a nice little losing streak where, as a Cowboy fan, I'm excited. But as far as NFL standards, a 49ers team that has played very well has been really shaky lately, and a lot of it has to do with the injuries. With that said, Jacksonville has been on a hot streak. They're the league leading right now is 5 wins so far. And in those 5 games, they've actually been really good. They've only allowed 15 points to the quarterback, allowing less than 1 touchdown per game as well. But I will say this, the Jaguars have allowed 3 300-yard games in a row, but the last 2 games, they've only allowed 200 yards combined. So the defense has shown up pretty well. Now, some of it's matchup based, right? Like some of the quarterbacks they played have not been great. Purdy has been average so far this season, right? He's shown some signs of being pretty good, and then he's showed average the last few weeks. I think it's still going to be the average Purdy that's showing up. They're still dealing with injuries. I think the Jaguars are in a hot streak. They're at home. They're excited. They're pumped. I like the Jaguars in this one. I have Brock Purdy as a sit. Another quarterback I'm sitting this week is going to be Baker Mayfield versus the Titans. Titans have played really well as of late in the last 5 games. In those 5 games, they've only allowed 177 yards a game. They're also keeping quarterbacks to 9.8 points in fantasy points. Baker has been up and down all season. He's had some really good games, and he has some okay games. And realistically, I think if the Bucs have any chance against the Titans, it has to be through Rachaad White. Rachaad White has been fantastic the last 3 games. They've actually started to use him in the pass. They started using him in the ground. They're putting him in the red zone. Like, he's done a great job, and that's helped the Buccaneers. Now, of course, that really devastating loss to the Texans was definitely a heart-wrencher, and realistically, that could kind of play a factor going into this week against the Titans, who also just came off of a loss against the Steelers. I like the Titans defense a little bit better. They're well coached with Mike Vrabel. I think Baker's going to struggle. Now, the last quarterback I'm going to recommend as a sit is going to be Jordan Love versus the Steelers. You could also talk about Kenny Pickett, but I like Kenny Pickett just a little bit better if you have to start him. Love right now has not been great. He started the season at a hot streak. Like, he was playing fantastic. But as of late, he's struggled. He's only averaging 13.4 points a game. And now he's playing a Steelers team that has only allowed 12.3 points in the last 4 games. Love has, obviously, Aaron Jones back, which has been great for him. But here's the concern. You've got Aaron Jones, but now you may not be without Christian Watson. So now you're back to Aaron Jones and Dobbs. Dobbs has been okay. He's more of a touchdown threat than he is more of a complete, reliable receiver. So this is a really tough matchup. I'm sitting Jordan Love. Now, my sleeper of the week is Trevor Lawrence versus the 49ers. And you may start him anyways just because of, again, the injuries and the bye weeks. But I like this matchup because realistically, the 49ers have struggled the last 2 games. 49ers have allowed 24 points a game, and they're playing against a really hot Jaguars team that's played really well offensively. I know they traded for Cleveland, which right now is not playing. He's dealing with an injury. But the Jaguars have a really good offense, right? You've got Ridley to deal with. You've got Kirk. You've got Etienne. Like, you've got Evan Ingram. Like, you've got a lot of weapons, which matches up really well against this 49ers defense. They're going to spread that defense around, allow this team to, again, be on their heels. I will say one credit I would give the 49ers. Getting Chase Young was a huge move for them because, again, they got to go after the quarterback, and that's one area that I will have some issues with is that Trevor Lawrence is constantly getting pressured, allowing him to not play well, not able to set his feet. So something to keep an eye on, but I still like Lawrence as a nice little sleeper. I think he might get you 16 to 18 points this week. So those are my start, sits, and sleepers for week 10. If you guys do have questions for your lineups, questions for trades, waivers, whatever it is, hit us in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well, and the notification bell is on. And of course, if you guys enjoy the content, make sure you guys hit the like button. Check out our waiver wire video, and I'll check you guys out next time.